The scent of roasting garlic and thyme was Leo's first memory and his last thought before sleep. It was the smell of his grandmother's kitchen, a small, steamy kingdom of chipped blue tiles and perpetually simmering stock pots. At 83, Yaya Sofia presided over her domain from a worn wooden stool, her gnarled hands moving with the precision of a concert pianist as she rolled dolmades or filo de spanakopita. Leo, at 7, was her dedicated sous chef, tasked with sprinkling flour like a gentle winter snow and tearing basil leaves with his small, careful fingers. Down the hall, in the living room that doubled as his father's office, a different soundtrack played. The rapid-fire clatter of Andreas's keyboard was the percussion to Sofia's kitchen symphony. He was on a video call, his voice a steady, weary drone. "The projection just isn't there, Mark. We need the Q3 numbers to convince them." Andreas ran a small import business, a precarious venture he'd built from scratch. The lines on his forehead had deepened this past year, etching themselves into permanence. Leo's mother, Eleni, moved between these two worlds like a translator of needs. She was a nurse, her sneakers squeaking on the linoleum as she arrived home, her shoulders slumped with the weight of a 12-hour shift. She'd kiss the top of Leo's flour-dusted head, squeeze Andreas's tense shoulder, a silent transfer of warmth, and then bend to embrace Sofia, inhaling the rosemary in her hair. "The world is too loud today, Mana," she'd murmur into her mother's neck. Sofia would simply pat her cheek, her touch saying everything words could not. Their home was a triplex, a slightly sagging but proud brick house that held them all. Sofia owned it. She'd scrubbed its floors as a newly arrived bride 60 years prior, had raised 3 children within its walls, and buried her husband in the backyard garden under a fig tree he'd planted. The garden was her other masterpiece, explosions of tomatoes, defiant zucchini, and herbs that perfumed the entire block. This house, this family, was her entire empire. The headline, when it blared from a tabloid left on the subway, Eleni made physically recoil. Millionaire beat his pregnant wife 300 times until her billionaire father suddenly walked in and... She didn't read the rest. The vulgarity of it, the reduction of profound suffering to a lurid clickbait caption, felt like a violation. That night, as she folded laundry, the phrase echoed in her head 300 times. It spoke of a hidden, private horror, a terrible, silent tally. It spoke of a rescue that was dramatic, external, and reliant on immense power. It felt galaxies away from their quiet, straining life, and yet it haunted her. Their own struggles were not of dramatic violence, but of slow, grinding pressure. It was the wince Andreas tried to hide when another invoice went unpaid. It was the way Sofia's hands now trembled slightly as she poured olive oil, a faint, betraying ripple on the golden surface. It was Leo coming home from 2nd grade, quieter than usual because a boy had said his homemade lunch smelled weird. Their battles were fought in decimals on spreadsheets, in the ache of lower backs, in the subtle cruelties of a playground. There was no billionaire father to walk in. There was only them. The crisis, when it came, was mundane. The old boiler, a grumbling dinosaur in the basement, finally gave a terminal shudder and died on the first true night of winter. The repair estimate, presented by a sympathetic but firm plumber, was a number that made Andreas go very still and quiet. It was a number that would devour the buffer they'd so carefully saved for Leo's summer camp, for the new tires the car desperately needed. It was a number that threatened the warmth of the house itself. That evening, the kitchen was silent. No roasting garlic, no sizzling onions. Sofia sat on her stool, staring at her hands. Andreas scrolled through loan applications on his phone, the blue light hollowing out his eyes. Eleni mechanically made peanut butter sandwiches for dinner. Leo felt the cold seeping in, not just from the radiators, but from the adults around him. It was a cold of fear, and it was worse than the winter chill. He slipped away to his room and returned with his treasure, a ceramic turtle bank painted a lopsided green. It was heavy with coins. He placed it on the kitchen table with a decisive thunk. "For the boiler," he said, his voice small but clear. The sound broke the spell. Andreas looked up, his eyes softening into a profound sadness. "Oh, buddy, that's so generous, but your savings." "It's for the house," Leo insisted, "so Yaya isn't cold." Sophia's eyes filled. She pulled Leo to her, burying her face in his hair. That single, foolishly brave act was their billionaire father walking in. It wasn't a rescue with power, but a summoning of their collective spirit. "Right," Eleni said, brushing crumbs from her hands. "We are not eating sandwiches." She went to the pantry, a determined set to her jaw. Andreas put his phone away, screen down. Sophia slowly stood, her joints protesting, and reached for her apron. What followed was not a miracle, but a mobilization. Andreas called not for a loan officer, but for his cousin, a contractor who owed him a favor. "I'll supply the hands if you supply the know-how," Andreas said. The cousin arrived the next Saturday with tools. Eleni, on her days off, didn't rest. She organized. She listed unused items for sale online, an old violin, a set of china that nobody used. She found a community assistance program for energy bills and meticulously filled out the forms. And Sophia went to war in the only way she knew. She cooked. Not just for the family, but for the cousin and his assistant, who worked long into the evening. She sent Leo next door with a still warm loaf of olive bread for the elderly neighbor who lived alone. She made massive pots of fasolada, a humble bean soup that was the very taste of resilience, of making something nourishing from little. The house, though physically chilled, began to warm with the steam from her pots and the purpose in the air. Leo became the courier and the morale officer. He carried towels and tools to the basement. He reported to Yaya on the workers' progress. He sat at the table doing his homework, his presence a quiet anchor. The money from Eleni's sales was combined with the cousin's discounted labor. It was still tight, agonizingly so. But one afternoon, the neighbor, Mrs. Gable, a woman of few words and a sharp eye, rang the bell. She handed Eleni an envelope. "Sophia's bread fixed my arthritis better than any pill," she grumbled. "The soup she sent when I had the flu probably saved my life. This is an investment in neighborhood security." Inside was a generous check labeled "Loan, repay in kind." The night the new boiler was finally installed, rumbling to life with a promising modern purr, they gathered in the kitchen. They were all exhausted, smudged with dust or flour, but the air was rich with the scent of Sophia's celebratory dinner. A roasted chicken with lemon and oregano, potatoes crisping in the pan juices, a salad from the last of the garden's hearty greens. As they sat, Andreas didn't reach for his phone. Eleni's pager was off. Leo, between bites, recounted his day with a newfound energy. Sophia watched them all, her bays a benediction. Eleni thought of the awful headline again, 300 times. She looked at her family. She counted their own tallies, not of blows, but of mercies. The first time, Andreas coming home defeated, yet still stopping to fix Mrs. Gable's stuck mailbox. The 47th time, Sophia, hands aching, still rolling pastry for the church bake sale. The 112th time, Leo sharing his extra cookie with the boy who'd mocked his lunch. The 200th time, Eleni, after her long shift, sitting on the edge of Leo's bed to listen to his whispered fears about a math test. The 300th time, this moment right now, the collective exhale, the shared warmth, the simple, profound act of passing the potatoes. Their rescue had not come from a sudden external savior. It had been built moment by moment, kindness by kindness, across generations. It was built with the currency of torn basil and unpaid favors, of silent shoulder squeezes and lopsided turtle banks. Their billionaire father was not a person, but the cumulative immense wealth of their care for each other. He had been walking in every single day in the form of a steady pot of soup, a repaired mailbox, a saved coin, a filled-out form. He lived in the hustle and the heartbeat of their ordinary, precious life. Later, as the heat began to seep steadily into the old bones of the house, Leo fell asleep at the table, his head pillowed on his arm. Andreas carried him to bed. Eleni and Sophia washed the dishes, their hands in the warm, soapy water. Outside, the winter wind howled, but inside, the house stood warm and defiant, a fortress built not of money, but of a million unheralded moments of love. It was a wealth no headline could ever capture, and it was, they knew, absolutely bulletproof.